Today, we'll be going over the MeterManager, report exporter, and quality of service analysis tools. So here in MeterManager, we have our list of groups and meters. The quality of service analysis tool is a tool that's used to check how often your meters are online, how often you may have any issues with meters, either connection-wise or log retrieval-wise. So if I wanted to take a look at this first meter, if you right-click on a meter, you can view the communication quality of service analysis. You can also get to this screen by going to Tools, Utilities, Connections, and View Communications Quality of Service Analysis. So due to the number of meters that I have, it might take a little while to populate. And so you'll notice here I have my entire group of meters. It shows you the meter status. All of these meters are currently online with the exception of one meter here. We have a reliability rating where we'll show whether the reliability is good, whether there's intermittent communication issues, or whether a meter is almost always offline. The online percent, and don't look too much into this on my computer. My computer I use to go out in the field, so quite often I'm disconnected from meters that are normally online. When you're using this software on a server at a location that is always plugged in, always online, always on the same network as the meters, your online percent would be much better than this. But this is a good example of if you did have any network communication issues, you'd be able to see which meters were your biggest offenders. We have the top 5 offline meters. So this is the number of polling times that these meters have been offline. Top 5 communication issues, so not responding to a ping or any sort of log retrieval errors. And if we have any unknown connections. So unknown connections might be you connected serially to a meter and you just connected to it, programmed the profile, disconnected. MeterManager still sees that as a connection, but it didn't have enough time to do any sort of log retrieval or polling from the meter on the MeterManager side. If you click on a meter, you can see more detailed information on the actual meter. So in this case, 72% of the time, this meter's been offline. The meter itself has been online. My computer just hasn't been connected to the same network as it for 72% of the time. And any of these no response while connecting, if I have scripts set up to automatically retrieve the logs, but I'm not connected to the network, I would get these types of issues. I can also view the sessions for this meter and all of the errors that come with it. So this gives you detailed information. So at this time I was connected to the network. We were successfully connected, no errors here. So this tool is really nice if you are having issues getting the logs. This will tell you if there was a failure to connect to the meter, invalid username and password being used, if the meter responded but did not allow log retrieval. This is what we would use this tool for. And you can always put filters, so you can show COM counts, you can show error counts, You can refresh, and you can email the report. So you can set up emails. So instead of having to always look at the quality of service analysis, when the meter does go offline or when there's a communication issue with the meter, you can get an email as opposed to manually checking MeterManager all the time. And then once you do get that email, then you can come into the communications quality of service analysis to do more in-depth troubleshooting and find out what's going on. Okay, so that's basically it for communications quality of service analysis. So the next topic is going to be the report exporter feature. All of our meters with logging capabilities, and even some of them without, with the MeterManager software, we make a DB file where you can view the meter's information through our log viewer software that comes with Communicator EXT. If you wanted to generate information from the meters without using the log viewer software, we have a report exporter feature that can export to an XLSX format or a .csv format. You have two options. You can create a report exporter for a group of meters, and you can also create a report exporter for a single meter. When you see this little journal icon, this indicates that a report exporter script has been set up for this group of meters, as well as this individual meter has a report exporter group set up. So if I right click on the group, select report exporter, this pop-up is telling me that this report already exists. Do I want to edit the report? I'll say yes. So now we have a weekly report set up. It starts on Sunday. And so every Sunday it will generate a weekly report. We can give it a template name and a heading. In our file format, we have Excel or CSV file formats. So you can make this report start on any day of the week for a weekly report. We can do multi-hour, we can do daily, weekly, and monthly reports. Most common are our weekly and monthly reporting capabilities. And down here, this is the path where the reports will be stored. So we can have the meter logs be retrieved and stored in a certain directory. We can have these CSV or Excel files be exported to a separate directory of our choosing as well. I will leave this the default for right now. Down here, you have a list of available points. So these are all the points that we're recording and retrieving from the meters. And then over here on the right, this is the selected points. These are the points that will actually be put into the report exporter file. So if you want everything, you can click this button to add everything to the meter list. If you just wanted to choose a few items, you can, this button will remove all the points from this window so that you can add new points. So if I wanted to take the watt hours in the interval, you can double click, or you can select a line and hit the right arrow. So if I wanted watt hours in the interval, I could take this button down here. What this will do is this will create a calculated channel. So if you've seen the information from the log viewer software, whether you're looking at watt hours, kilowatt hours, or megawatt hours, the meter stores everything in base units. So if I wanted to have a report give me kilowatt hours, I would simply press this button. Now I have another line item here, which is watt hours in the interval received computed. So if you right click on this item, you can define the settings. You can rename this. So I can call this KWH interval. I can do an operation to divide by 1000. We also have compute intervals. So in addition to dividing by 1000 to change your units, you can also do some math functions. So since this is energy in the interval, I could sum these points. I could do an hourly or a daily sum. If I click OK, I can also create another formula off of this point. Divide again by 1000, not use any sort of compute intervals. Now that I have these calculated values, I can get rid of this watt hours in the interval if I don't want to see watt hour values to save a cell. So now I have these 2 points. If I save this report, I can view a preview. So the preview will go through the start time that you have set up, May 24th. So this will start May 24th and give me a weekly preview. So this is for both meters because I did a group report exporter. You'll notice here that I have the KWH interval 15-minute values. So every 15 minutes, these are the kilowatt hours used in that 15-minute interval. You'll also notice here that I have 2 columns that look pretty empty. These are the 2 columns that I had set up to sum for the day. So while these 2 columns are giving us the 15-minute intervals, when I scroll down at midnight for the next day, it takes all of these values and sums them up so I can see how many kilowatt hours I used this day. In addition to the formulas being computed back in this window here, we also have a formula feature for the meters. Because I already set up some formulas in here, I was getting this error. So I'll just come back out here. I will save. I'll exit. And I'll start a report exporter here. That error that popped up was because I had some column formulas already set up for fields that I had removed. So instead of having to go through and delete all those column formulas, this will be an easier way to show. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating a report just for this 1800 Shames Drive meter. So these points are all points that are available in the meter. So if I wanted to look at voltages, if I wanted to look at my power factor, if I wanted to look at, this is my demand values. And again, everything is stored in watts, so I can compute this value and I can make this divided by 1,000 for kilowatts. And I can call this kW demand. And now that I have this kW demand here, I can remove the watts so that I don't have kW and watts showing up. In addition to watt hours in the interval, we also have watt hours received. So this is the continuous hour counter. And so again, what I can do here is show you kilowatt hours received, divide by 1,000. And if you wanted to, you could also take a look at harmonics here. So we are recording harmonics on voltage and current, so I could add these as well. If I just double click amps A, B, and C, now we have all these points. I can save this file. I can preview. Now I have my three-phase voltages. I have my power factor, my kW demand. I have the kilowatt hours received. So this is the continuous hour counter. And I have my total harmonic distortion for my three phases of current. So now in the previous window, we could do formulas based on 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, or daily calculations. Since I'm creating a monthly report here, I can hit this FX button. This will bring up formulas. A column formula is anything within a specific column. A row formula will happen across specific chosen rows. So I can create a column formula if we wanted to see what our peak demand for the month was. If I hit column formula, add an expression, I can call it peak kW, peak demand. We can look at a max value, and my meter channel is kW demand. I will add that channel. What we can also do, in some cases, power factor is a pretty big deal for some locations. So I can add another. I can call it average power factor. I can choose average in the options. Add the power factor. Again, with total harmonic distortion, if you don't really care about the 15-minute values, we can average out the total harmonic distortion as well. For row formulas, an example of using a row formula would be we have our A phase, B phase, and C phase voltages. If you just wanted to see what the average line to neutral voltage is, you'll notice here that our B phase voltage is quite a bit higher. This meter is actually installed on a 4-wire delta system, and so that's why we look like this. But what we can do here, we can add an expression, call it average three-phase volts. Choose your type. If you want to take a value, it would be a column. If you want to put a number in, it would be a constant. So the way we would get this is in column, choose volts A to N. And when you average it out, you have to add 3 columns and divide by 3. So the way we do that here is we would take each value divided by 3. And then I'll add volts B, divide that by 3. And then I'll add volts C. And divide that by 3. And so I won't add an operator here because this is the end of the string that I need. So I'll add this calculation. I'll save this setting. And now I have over here my average 3-phase voltage. So 152 looks kind of high. That's because of the B phase bringing it up a little bit. But if all of your voltages were 120, 115, 277, if you were on a delta system at 480, you could average out your 3 voltages to make sure that they're all averaging out to the voltage you're expecting. The column formulas all show up at the very bottom. So here I have average power factor. So for the month of May, we averaged out about 0.86. Our peak KW for the month was 35.46. And our average total harmonic distortion was 55.46%, 94.16% on B phase. If this wasn't on a test set, this would typically be something we would want to look at because you shouldn't have harmonics this high. But this is a good way to check to see if you have any issues without having to go through all of your 15-minute values every time. So that's one option. This option is looking at 15-minute interval values. You might not want to see 15-minute interval values for an entire month. So what we can do again is if you wanted to see what your power factor was, if we add power factor, do a computed value. If we added positive watts, did a computed value, we can do a daily average KW, divide this by 1,000, take an average for the day. I can also add another divide again by 1,000, choose max, daily. And we can also, if we take the watt hours in the interval, I can create a calculated daily energy. Again, divide by 1,000. I can sum on a daily record. Remove this. Now if I save this report, go to preview, and that error that popped up is because I still had the column formulas for the voltages. So now I had to scroll through all those lines of 15-minute readings for the whole month. Right now, I'm only looking at my average power factor for each day, my daily average KW, the max KW for that day, the daily energy that I consume. And because I only have a couple here, I can delete these formulas. So, and then when we refresh, that'll go away. So we can look at daily values. And then again, if you still wanted to look at your peak for the month, if we're looking at max daily, we can add another expression down here to show you what your peak KW usage is for the month. This is just a preview because I have a monthly report at the first of every month or at whatever day of the month I choose to have my reports generated. This report will automatically be generated. This is just to show you that you can preview to see what you're going to find so that while you're creating your reports, you don't have to wait till the next month to see if the changes that you made were what you wanted to see. We can save this. We can print it. You can select everything, copy and paste it into an Excel spreadsheet, and you can change the report dates. So if I wanted to change this to April to May or April to June, I could do that here to see what the report would look like there. If you decide you want to start over instead of clearing everything out, like you saw, I got errors because I changed the points I was bringing in, but didn't remove the formulas first from the preview. I can delete this monthly report altogether and start over from scratch. If you've saved other reports, you can also bring those reports up without having to exit out of here and go into the reports through MeterManager. Anytime you do make a change, you'll want to make sure you save the template. Delete will remove this. There is no recovery, so make sure that you want to delete this template before hitting delete. We can also email or send this file via FTP. In my case, every month, I'm going to have a report generated and stored in this directory. If you can, so I'm saving this on my local hard drive. If you have a shared drive, you can have it sent directly to the shared drive so everyone can access it. If you don't have a shared drive you want to use, you would check enable email notification. Now, every time this report is generated, MeterManager will email this report to anyone that you choose to email to. While it would be nice to add multiple people in here, we do recommend using group emails. It's always much easier to edit a group email, especially if you're using any of our meters for email capabilities. If everyone in that group should get reports and emails from the meters, whenever you have to change anyone, add or remove anyone from a group, it's easier to do it once through your email server than to have to come in here and go into each meter to add or remove people. These email server settings you would get from your IT department. If you choose not to email, you don't have a shared drive, but you do have a file transfer protocol server that you can send files to. MeterManager can also send these files via FTP. When you do set up email, you can send a test email to make sure that everything is set up and running. Again, so you don't have to wait until the end of the day, week, month, however you have your report frequency set up to make sure that you're going to get your reports. The preview button goes over the preview that I just showed you. Once you have everything set up, you're good to go. You can exit the reporter. If you have made changes without saving, this prompt will show up saying that this report has changed since you last hit save. Do you want to save it now? I can say yes or no. If I say yes, it comes back. And now you'll notice that before, this 1800 Shames drive did not have a notebook. Now it does. So right now I have reports being generated for this group of meters. I have individual reports being created for each meter as well. So we can lay these out however you want. You don't have to just do 2 meters. I could create groups for all of these meters with multiple meters. So however you want to create reports, you would just group your meters that way. You could create one group and put all of your meters in there and create one Excel spreadsheet for all meters. Or you could break them up by buildings, by campus, location, plenty of options, or you could just create one report per meter. So we just covered the quality of service analysis tool through MeterManager, as well as the report exporter feature, both from a group perspective and from a meter perspective. So I am going to now open it up to any questions, and we'll see what we can answer for you guys.